disappear, taken by your mighty flame. The enemy dread and fear when I invoke your name. You sought the mouth of lions, set Paul and Silas free. As David beat Goliath, you always win for me. Jesus is the winner. His power endureth forever. Jesus is the winner. His power endureth
Heresy grows from idleness.
Jesus is the name above all names. May your kingdom be glorified. Your name is the King of Kings, Emmanuel, Lord of Lords. Yes, you are Alpha and Omega, resurrection and life, Son of God, the way, the truth. Your name is the King of Kings, Emmanuel, Lord of Lords. Yes, you are Alpha and Omega, resurrection and life, Son of God, the way, the truth. Your name is the King of Kings, Emmanuel, Lord of Lords. Yes, you are Alpha and Omega, resurrection and life, Son of God, King Jesus. Praise the exalted Holy God, Maker of all the earth and the sky. Holy, holy, King of glory. Worship the Son of God, Jesus Christ. Glory to the Holy Spirit will rise. You deserve all the honor. You're the one we call the true Almighty God. You're the one we call the true Almighty God.
Good morning. Good morning, my lords and ladies. I'm honored to have you all here today. Welcome in. Yeah, welcome in. It's good to have you guys here. Thank you, Doki, for gifting a tier 1 sub to Clown Thriller. Nice.
Please just hydrate. It won't stop.
Somebody was speaking to the
It
left.
sounded like your space
What are you talking about? Just now, this? What are you talking about? You had somebody talking through the laptop?
Yeah.
Bring it to me. Bring me the laptop, child. It's probably playing a video or something. I'd be surprised if somebody was connected through that. Anyway. Weird things. Thank you for the hydrate, Baines. Thank you. Got my coffee. How you guys doing today? Hope everybody's, having a great Friday in preparation. Well, let's see here. You said somebody was talking to here?
Yeah.
Sure, it wasn't like this lesson or something?
No. Then let's start. You know?
And then this is...
This is the video. No, wait, this is the PDF. I need to print that out.
Well, where did you hear it? You sure it was from this?
Yeah, it was here. Nothing popped up. It was just the title of my lesson.
I don't know.
Well,
Hold on.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, we're doing some troubleshooting. Yes, Ella David, how are you? Wasn't this? I don't see anything. I don't know. If it happens again, let me know. Alright, anyway. No, you're good. Weird. Anyway, yeah, my son came. I don't know if you guys heard. He was like, "Oh, there was like a weird radio voice coming
Hey
from
there,
your."
it's Megan. You should drink
All
some
right, let me
water.
take a drink. You should drink some water. You'll never guess what I'm working on. I don't know. What are you working on? Ah! I just got here. What did I do? I didn't. All lies. All right. Anyway, okay, all right. Anyway, there was a weird radio voice you said coming from the laptop, which is, I don't know what that was about. He's not logged into anything. There's no game up. I don't know. My guess it was some recording or something, but weird. Anyway, but good to have you guys in. Welcome in, everybody. Fletcher, congratulations on first. Thunderbird Nix has claimed second. Why am I here? Swooping in with a third. And then we have no fourths yet. Huh, interesting. We'll claim Doki got official first fourth since, honorary first of the first fourths. There you go. So that's what we'll do. Anyway, it's totally fine. But good morning, everybody. Welcome in this fine and glorious day. I'm honored to serve you. I truly am. I hope you guys are prepared. We're going to finish the silver chair today. No, we are not into carpentry. This is a book called part of the Chronicles of Narnia. If you are unfamiliar with it, absolutely wondrous tale. You should definitely be checking it out. It's wait. Make sure that's all up to snuff there. There we go. This is the 6th book in the Chronicles of Narnia series, and the second to last. After this one, next week we'll be reading The Last Battle, and then we will be done. We'll be done with the Chronicles of Narnia, and I really do hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you've missed any of the stories or parts of the books and you really wanted to catch it, I'm going to be uploading the VODs for the readings to YouTube. Some of them should already be up there because we've been sending them live. So hi YouTube, sending them live over there to YouTube, so they should be up there for the VODs if you did want to go watch them. I just don't have them labeled properly or in any kind of order other than date, so there's that. But you could do that, but I'll get those up and running for you as soon as I can. I gotta settle down and get some editing done and see what's going on. But Sailor David, do I have to just guess, or are you gonna tell me? Or is it like a surprise? I'm excited to know. I mean, you're a wildly talented person, so I'd love to hear it. Baines, it's Friday Chaos. That's right. Praise be to our glorious Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for always sticking by us and forgiving us for all of our sins. Praise be to the eternal God, the immortal Emperor, Jesus Christ. Amen, Father Meme. How you doing today? Good to see you, brother. Rico, if you had the ability and had the materials to build a silver chair from scratch, you should do craft streams. maybe one day. So right now we're in a rental. So I don't really have the ability to set up a shop here. Maybe in about so we're planning to move into a house, hopefully, down here in Florida in like a year, maybe 2 years. So if I can get a nice little piece of property with a shed and stuff like that, maybe I can set up a shop and then we can actually do some crafty stuff. I'd like to set, like, ideally I would like to set up a couple 3D printers, do some design work on there, have a craft shop, and then make things like that for you. Like, I would love that if somebody hit, say, like 100 stream streak, right? If they managed to do that, then I would get them, like 3D print them a Heavenly Legion coin. You know what I mean? That would be sick. And then send that out to them. That would be so cool. I'd love to do stuff like that. But that sort of thing, I'm down the pipeline. I gotta become self-sufficient. So we start the new job on the 27th of this month. So I've got this whole month where, you know, I can just kind of focus on streaming and family and things like that and getting things ready. The house is selling back in Georgia. It's under contract, so that's great news. So we're free of all that. Everything's looking up, guys, and it's all thanks to you and your kind generosity and the Lord sending us here. So, woohoo! Once I start the job, I'll figure out what the schedule's going to be and just stream around that. But it should be good. It should be good. So maybe I'm gonna try to keep working on stream stuff and doing some writing and. Sorry, coffee's kicking in. And you know, we'll see what happens. Maybe I can get things. We'll see what happens. It should be exciting. I mean, it has something to do with editing. Oh. Well, if it's something to do with... Never mind. You let me know when you're done, and we'll talk more. But that is exciting. You guys, Sailor David, I don't know if you guys saw, he did a edit for us, for the channel. We posted it to YouTube. If you guys want to check it out, it's phenomenal. I thought it was so good. It's my favorite edit I've ever had on my channel, and it was so well done. There's the link to it right there. It was so well done. You guys should totally check it out. It was amazing. I laugh. I always laugh at my own jokes, but he did a phenomenal job of editing it up, and you should give him a follow on YouTube, and you know, make sure you go check out his stuff. And then he's linked in the YouTube video there. And then go watch the video. Go support it. Go give it a like. Go show it. Spread it around, because it was funny. I thought it was great. I watched it with my wife and kids, and we laughed. We cried. We laughed some more. It was funny. Go check it out. But yeah, I appreciate you, Sailor David. Truly, that's amazing. And you know, if I can figure out a way for, you know, like if I could get to the point where this stream was, you know, self-sufficient, really, which, you know, is a hobby. We have fun, and you guys are not required to donate or sub or anything like that. That's not at all. If you want to, awesome. You know, I can do things with that to grow this channel, make it more fun for you, do other things, buy new games to play, etc., etc. That's what I put it all to. So, thank you. Thank you. Your generosity allows this to continue, and we have a lot of fun, and that's the main thing. If it became more than that, that would be sick, but no pressure. The Lord has been good to us. We're fine. Ow. And, you know, all that. Anyway, go check it out. Congrats on that. Things are moving. Yeah. Yeah, they are. I'm sorry, Primarch Rico. What do you mean? What are you sorry for? Rico, if you had the ability, yeah, I would do that. I mean, it has to do with editing. And Rico, never forget, you will always be our Rico, out-Rico'd by the Rico Penguin. I mean, he's a weapons specialist. He can literally ingest a bomb. Arguably, so can I. And how do you know, Father Meme, that that penguin isn't what's inside this armor? You don't know. Could be him. Could be him. Boom, Rico. Maybe I am the penguin. You never know. Allegedly. We may never know. We may never know. Good thing for me, May 1st is a holiday for me. Nice. Thou should write a book. So full disclosure, I am writing a book. I am writing a book. But I don't know. Just like my artwork, it takes me an excruciatingly long time to do anything of a creative nature. I love doing that kind of stuff. It's going to be a while. If I was forever freed from wage servitude, like I didn't have to work, like I had that kind of money, I could sit down and bang it out in the mornings and stuff like that. But you know, I've also got kids and, you know, life. It just happens. It's about being disciplined and sitting down and writing, and my energy has been directed elsewhere. So, but we'll get there one day. Tolkien, I think, didn't write Lord of the Rings until he was like in his 50s, I think. 50s or 60s? So we got time. We're fine. Last I checked, I think it got 100 views now, which is awesome. That is awesome. That it's well deserved. I think, honestly, I think it should be in the millions, David. Not because of, you know, like me. I think just because of how much talent you poured into it. I think it's such a great edit. It's great. I love it. It's so funny. That is what I look for when I'm watching other streamers. You know what I mean? When I'm watching like other YouTube videos, I'm trying to find something entertaining to watch and enjoy. Like that kind of, it was great. I really enjoyed it. You know, because I asked you and you said you weren't a penguin. That's true. That's fair. You got me, Father Me. Dang it! The truth strikes again. How could we? It's good. Truth prevails. I shall free thee by giving thou an absurd amount of money once I have been married for 30 years. So you'll have to wait. That's fair. That's fair. I've been married since 2009. I've been married since 2009. Just 17 years. So, I'm not even there yet. Oh, you're welcome, David. Thank you. It was an amazing gift. And it was a gift, everybody. Like, Sailor David did that as a gift for my birthday, which was that I didn't ask this. It was just out of the generosity of his heart. And he's a very generous person. However, you know, that kind of talent deserves to be paid. You know what I mean? Like you deserve to be compensated for that kind of a thing. So that happens to be something you want to do on the regular. Maybe we can figure it out. Anyway, we'll talk. But it was amazing. Impressive, and the marriage is still very healthy. You must be a very good husband and father. I hope so. I really hope so. I try. I'm not going to say that I'm great or perfect in any form. My wife very lovingly tolerates some of my shenanigans. But, you know, I do try to be worthy of her. So she's an amazing gift from the Lord. But he who finds a wife finds himself a good thing, and that is the case in mine doubly so. So, you know what I mean. She's amazing. You guys should always tell her thank you. Whenever you see her in chat, tell her thank you, because she's the reason why we can do this. which is the reason why we can do this. Especially right now in the middle of the day when the kids are supposed to be doing homeschool, and then we're able to sit here and read. She's a peach. She's a peach. I'm telling you that right now. But I do hope you sometimes annoy your wife with your Joe Swanson voice from here. No, I don't annoy her. I make her laugh. I make my wife laugh all the time. I hope. I mean, she does. I get a pretty good giggle out of her a lot. So, you know, we laugh a lot. We make a lot of jokes. But, you know, in between, you know, trying to get our kids to do what they're supposed to do. But that being said, what we are going to be, we got 2 streams today. So again, it's going to be right now, which is we're reading The Silver Chair, and then later this evening with the Giggle Gang, we're going to be playing some more V Rising. So we're going to try and continue through that game. I hope you guys have been having fun. I really like that game. I mean, I don't know if it's the most entertaining thing to watch, but it's a lot of fun to play. It kind of hits all those little just gamer thing. You run around, you use ability, you know, almost like a World of Warcraft, like vanilla back in the day, except without the endless grinding. You know what I mean? Like, I can't explain it. I'm not explaining it right anyway. I like the game. I like it a lot. Suddenly pineapples. What do you mean? Blah, blah, blah. What? The giggling is usually the best part. It is. It is. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. I like making my wife laugh. When I do catch myself, so I'm a bit of a ham. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. I mean, obviously. But there will be points where you know, we'll be out in public, and I will say something funny. I know it's funny because I think it's funny, and it's funny. And I say this, and I say it a little bit louder than I probably should, because I know there's people who can hear. And so I find it a personal victory when I see them like snort whatever they're like, you know what I mean, or laugh out loud. You know what I mean? It's so funny. I love making people laugh. I really do. It gives me a tickle when other people laugh. I like it, you know, because then it's like, yeah, that was a good one. It was funny. Yeah, but I always know that no matter how hard somebody else is laughing, I'm laughing way harder at my own jokes because I'm a nerd. And that's okay. You know what I mean? I'm not going to tell a joke that I don't personally think is funny. Now, I have told jokes sometimes that other people didn't think was funny and it sounded better in my head, but I still laugh at it. So. Anyway, it's fine. So what we're gonna do though, where were we? We were on chapter 12 of The Silver Chair. So we're gonna be able to power through the end of this book. I think there's only 4 chapters left, so we're pretty much at the climax. We're pretty much there. This is near towards the end of we're more than halfway. We're about 3/4 of the way through the book. So we're gonna be able to finish this baby up today. I mean, snorting means you couldn't have made them laugh any harder. That's true. That's true. Yeah. Are you guys ready? Get your chairs. No fighting. You know the rules, and so do I. Get the chairs. There we go. All right, children are assembling in here because they want to hear the end of the story as well. Yeah, we're gonna finish it today.
Wow, I feel like it only takes us 3 to 4 days to read these Narnia books.
Typically, if we read 5 chapters each time, then it only takes 3 days, 3 streams to finish the book. All of them are only like 15 to 16 chapters long. So, okay, but you gotta be quiet. Remember, just listen. If this is gonna be too distracting, though, and you want to finish your school, you can go out and I'll read the rest of it to you later. Nice work, baby girl. All right. The climax, you say? I didn't know a man could climb with an axe. Oh yes, haven't you seen the Vikings? Haven't you seen the Vikings?
I did not mean to.
Ew. Gross. And stop.
Ad break.
There you go. Perfect parenting. I just did it, guys. I don't know if you heard it.
Ad break.
Nailed it. All right, so we got ad break going on right now. Of course it is. All right, remember, so we're not going to shout out about ad breaks. We're not going to shout out about what's going on. I've got it, right?
I'll
Right?
just
Okay.
tap
No, don't even worry about that. Just sit down, relax, listen to the story you enjoy, and most of all, no fighting or screaming because the baby's going to be asleep, right? Right?
Yeah.
All right, either of you got to go to the bathroom. Okay. All right, so I know we're in an ad break. Oh, we're back? Okay. I know we're in an ad break, and those of you might be battling away in there, but we'll go over a quick recap of what's happening so far. So, Silverchair, we have Eustace and Jill, who, Eustace is the cousin of the Pevensies, which are Edmund, Peter, Susan, and... Oh my God.
Edmund Peterson.
And Lucy. I kept want to say Judy. Lucy, who are the four Pevensey children who became the first, or the kings and queens of Narnia, long ago. But in our world, the time moves different than in Narnia. The Pevensies have had their last journey, into Narnia, as far as we know. According to the last book, which was the Dawn Treader. So Edmund and Lucy were they were the only two allowed, along with Eustace in the previous book. But now Eustace, who is their cousin, he has shown up in Narnia again, being pulled through a magic door by Aslan, and along with his friend Jill from their school. They have been sent on a journey to rescue the Prince Rilian, who has been missing. He is the son of Prince Caspian, who is now King Caspian the 10th, and they've been sent on this journey to help Caspian, who is now a very old man. Caspian set sail the moment they arrived in Narnia to the Lonely Islands to see if he could find Aslan to figure out who is going to be the next king because his son was missing, presumed dead. But Aslan tells Eustace and Jill that he's alive, that Rilian is in fact alive, and sends them on a quest to go find them. They've been on a massive journey. They climbed their way north with a
Wigwam.
not wigwam, a marsh wiggle named Puddleglum. All the way to the north, they found their way deep underground, where they found a huge underground city in a kingdom run by an evil witch, a green witch, who had apparently, as we discovered in the last few chapters, enchanted and captured the Prince Rilian by keeping him tied to a chair. And we didn't know it was him until suddenly he broke the curse. They destroyed the silver chair that was binding him, and now he's free. And so at this moment, they've joined with Prince Rilian, and Rilian, they heard that the men and the queen are returning, the Earthmen that the queen, I guess, made with magic. No, there's gnomes and the Earthmen. They're two different things. There's gnomes and then there's Earthmen. And so they're all they hear them coming, and so now the Prince Rilian took his sword and then walked towards the door and flung it open, and that was the end of chapter 11. So now they've rescued Rilian, but they're about to face the witch.
Why does he want Rilian?
Because she wanted to use him to take over Narnia.
You know, I wonder why it's called the silver chair if the silver chair's not in it that much.
Well, the silver chair had a lot to do with it, right? That's why. All right, so here we go. So we are going to begin now. So this is going to be chapter 12. Let us drink our daily dose of recap. Yes, I've already had mine.
Me too.
Yes. Okay. All right. Remember, silence is the order of the hour. Here we go. You guys just listen, and we shall begin. All right. So chapter 12, The Queen of Underland. Two Earthmen entered. But instead of advancing into the room, they placed themselves one on each side of the door and bowed deeply. They were followed immediately by the last person whom anyone had expected or wished to see, the Lady of the Green Kirtle, the Queen of Underland. She stood dead still in the doorway, and they could see her eyes moving as she took in the whole situation. The three strangers, the silver chair destroyed, and the prince free with his sword in his hand. She turned very white, but Jill thought it was the sort of whiteness that comes over some people's faces, not when they are frightened, but when they are angry. For a moment, the witch fixed her eyes on the prince, and there was murder in them. Then she seemed to change her mind. "Leave us," she said to the two earthmen, "and let none disturb us till I call on pain of death." The gnomes padded away obediently, and the witch queen shut and locked the door. "How now, my lord prince," she said. "Has your nightly fit not yet come upon you, or is it over so soon? Why stand you here unbound? Who are these aliens, and is it they who have destroyed the chair which was your only safety?" Prince Rillian shivered as she spoke to him, and no wonder. It is not easy to throw off in half an hour an enchantment which has made one a slave for 10 years. Then, speaking with a great effort, he said, "Madam, there will be no more need of that chair, and you, who have told me 100 times how deeply you pitied me for the sorceries by which I was bound, will doubtless hear with joy that they are now ended forever. There was, it seems, some small error in your ladyship's way of treating them. These, my true friends, have delivered me. I am now in my right mind, and there are two things I will say to you. First, as for your ladyship's design of putting me at the head of an army of earthmen, so that I may break out into the overworld and there, by main force, make myself king over some nation that never did me wrong, murdering their natural lords and holding their throne as a bloody and foreign tyrant. Now that I know myself, I do utterly abhor and renounce it as plain villainy. And second, I am the king's son of Narnia, Rillian, the only child of Caspian, 10th of that name, who some call Caspian the Seafarer. Therefore, madam, it is my purpose and it is my duty to depart suddenly from your highness's court into my own country. Please it you to grant me and my friends safe conduct and a guide through your dark realm." Now the witch said nothing at all, but moved gently across the room, always keeping her face and eyes very steadily towards the prince. When she had come to a little ark set in the wall, not far from the fireplace, she opened it and took out first a handful of green powder. This she threw on the fire. It did not blaze much, but a very sweet and drowsy smell came from it. And all through the conversation which followed, that smell grew stronger, and filled the room and made it harder to think. Secondly, she took out a musical instrument, rather like a mandolin. She began to play it with her fingers, a steady, monotonous thrumming that you didn't notice after a few minutes, but the less you noticed it, the more it got into your brain and your blood. This also made it hard to think. After she had thrummed for a time and the sweet smell was now strong, she began speaking in a sweet, quiet voice. "Narnia," she said. "Narnia? I've often heard your lordship utter that name in your ravings. Oh, dear prince, you are very sick. There is no land called Narnia." "Yes, there is, though, ma'am," said Puddleglum. "You see, I happen to have lived there all my life." "Indeed," said the witch. "Tell me, I pray you, where that country is." Oh, hold on, just... Sorry, my wife was calling. Just want to make sure you guys were... Yep, we're good.
We are, Mama.
Shh, baby sleeping. Okay, all right. Technitus, my lord. Good morning, battle brother. How are you today? I hope you're doing well.
Cool name.
Technitus. That's right. It's glorious. You appear to have run out of Vox minutes. Yes, it was just, my wife called. She's, trapped by the baby, and so, it's all good. It's all good. We're figuring it out. Where were we? Oh, yes.
When she was
Okay, I found it.
that there wasn't.
So here we are. Yes, there is, though, ma'am, said Puddleglum. You see, I happen to have lived there all my life. Indeed, said the witch. tell me, I pray you, where that country is." "Up there," said Petalglum, stoutly pointing overhead. "Oh, I don't know exactly where." "How?" said the Queen, with a kind, soft, musical laugh. "Is there a country up among the stones and mortar on the roof?" "No," said Puddleglum, struggling a little to get his breath. "It's in Overworld." "And what or where, pray, is this, how do you call it, Overworld?" "Oh, don't be so silly," said Scrub, who was fighting hard against the enchantment of the sweet smell and the thrumming. "As if you didn't know. It's up above, up where you can see the sky and the sun and the stars. Why, you've been there yourself. We met you there." "Oh, I cry you mercy, little brother," laughed the witch. You couldn't have heard a lovelier laugh. "I have no memory of that meeting, but we often meet our friends in strange places when we dream, and unless all dreamed alike, you must not ask them to remember it." "Madam," said the prince sternly, "I have already told your grace that I am the king's son of Narnia." "And shalt be, dear friend," said the witch in a soothing voice as if she was humoring a child. "Shalt be king of many imagined lands in thy fancies." "We've been there too," snapped Jill. She was very angry because she could feel enchantment getting hold of her every moment. But of course the very fact that she could still feel it showed that it had not yet fully worked. "And thou art queen of Narnia too, I doubt not, pretty one," said the witch in the same coaxing, half-mocking tone. "I'm nothing of the sort," said Jill, stamping her foot. "We come from another world." "Why, this is a prettier game than the other," said the witch. "Tell us, little maid, where is this other world? What ships and chariots go between it and ours?" Of course, a lot of things darted into Jill's head at once. Experiment house, a Delapenny father, her own home, radio sets, cinemas, cars, airplanes, ration books, queues, but they seemed dim and far away. Thrum, thrum, thrum went the strings of the witch's instrument, till Jill couldn't remember the names of the things in our world. And this time it didn't come into her head that she was being enchanted, for now the magic was in its full strength. And of course, the more enchanted you get, the more you feel that you are not enchanted at all. She found herself saying, at the moment it was a relief to say, "No, I suppose that other world must be all a dream." "Oh, yes, it is all a dream," said the witch, always thrumming. "Yes, all a dream," said Jill. "There never was such a world," said the witch. "No," said Jill and Scrub. "Never was such a world." "There never was any world but mine," said the witch. "There never was any world but yours," they said. Puddleglum was still fighting hard. "I don't know how rightly what you all mean by a world," he said, talking like a man who hasn't enough air. "But you can play that fiddle till your fingers drop off, and still you won't make me forget Narnia, and the whole overworld too. We'll never see it again, I shouldn't wonder. You may have blotted it out and turned it dark like this for all I know. Oh, nothing more likely. But I know I was there once. I've seen the sky full of stars. I've seen the sun coming up out of the sea of a morning and sinking behind the mountains at night. And I've seen him up in the midday sky when I couldn't look at him for brightness." Puddleglum's words had a very rousing effect. The other three all breathed again and looked at one another like people newly awakened. "Why, there it is," cried the prince. "Of course. The blessing of Aslan upon this honest Marshwiggle. We have all been dreaming these last few minutes. How could we have forgotten it? Of course we've all seen the sun." "By Jove, so we have," said Scrub. "Good for you, Puddleglum. You're the only one of us with any sense, I do believe." Then the witch's voice came, cooing softly like the voice of a wood pigeon from high elms in an old garden at 3 o'clock in the middle of a sleepy summer afternoon, and it said, "What is this sun that you all speak of? Do you remember anything by the word?" "Well, yes, we jolly well do," said Scrub. "Can you tell me what it's like?" asked the witch. Thrum, thrum, thrum went the strings. "Please, it your grace," said the prince, very coldly and politely. "You see that lamp? It is round and yellow, and it gives light to the whole room, and hangeth moreover from the roof. Now that thing which we call the sun is like the lamp, only far greater and brighter. It giveth light to the whole overworld, and hangeth in the sky." "Hangeth from what, my lord?" asked the witch. And then, while they were all still thinking how to answer her, she added with another of her soft silver laughs, "You see, when you try to think out clearly what this sun must be, you cannot tell me. You can only tell me it is like the lamp. Your sun is a dream, and there is nothing in that dream that was not copied from the lamp. The lamp is the real thing. The sun is but a tale, a children's tale." "Yes, I see now," said Jill in a heavy, hopeless tone. "It must be so." And while she said this, it seemed to her to be very good sense. Slowly and gravely the witch repeated, "There is no sun." And they all said nothing. She repeated in a softer and deeper voice, "There is no sun." And after a pause and after a struggle in their minds, all four of them said together, "You are right. There is no sun." It was such a relief to give in and say it. "There never was a sun," said the witch. "No, there never was a sun," said the prince and the marshwiggle and the children. For the last few minutes, Jill had been feeling that there was something she must remember at all costs. And now she did, but it was dreadfully hard to say it. She felt as if huge weights were laid on her lips. At last, with an effort that seemed to take all the good out of her, she said, "There's Aslan." "Aslan," said the witch, quickening ever so slightly the pace of her thrumming. "What a pretty name. What does it mean?" "He's the great lion who called us out of our own world," said Scrub, "and sent us into this to find Prince Rillian." "What is a lion?" asked the witch. "Oh, hang it all," said Scrub. "Don't you know? How can we describe it to her? Have you ever seen a cat?" "Oh, surely," said the queen. "I love cats." "Well, a lion is a little bit, only a little bit, mind you, like a huge cat with a mane. At least it's not like a horse's mane, you know. It's more like a judge's wig, and it's yellow and terrifically strong." The witch shook her head. "I see," she said, "that you should do no better with your lion, as you call it, than we did with your sun. You have seen lamps, and so you imagined a bigger and better lamp and called it the sun. You've seen cats, and now you want a bigger and better cat, and it's to be called a lion. Well, 'tis a pretty make-believe, though, to say the truth. It would suit you all better if you were younger, and look how you can put nothing into your make-believe without copying it from the real world. This world of mine, which is the only world. But even you children are too old for such play. As for you, my lord prince, that art a man full grown, fie upon you. Are you not ashamed of such toys? Come, all of you, put away these childish tricks. I have work for you all in the real world. There is no Narnia, no overworld, no sky, no sun, and no Aslan. And now to bed all, and let us begin a wiser life tomorrow. But first,
to bed, to sleep, deep sleep. Soft pillows, sleep without foolish dreams. The prince and the two children were standing with their heads hung down, their cheeks flushed, their eyes half closed. The strength all gone from them, the enchantment almost complete. But Puddleglum, desperately gathering all of his strength, walked over to the fire. Then he did a very brave thing. He knew it wouldn't hurt him quite as much as it would hurt a human, for his feet, which were bare, were webbed and hard and cold-blooded like a duck's. But he knew it would hurt him badly enough, and so it did. With his bare foot he stamped on the fire, grinding a large part of it into ashes on the flat earth, and three things happened at once. First, the sweet, heavy smell grew very much less, for though the whole fire had not been put out, a good bit of it had, and what remained smelled very largely of burnt marshwiggle, which is not at all an enchanting smell. This instantly made everyone's brain far clearer. The prince and the children held up their heads again and opened their eyes. Secondly, the witch, in a loud, terrible voice, uttered different from all the sweet tones she had been using up till now, called out, "What are you doing? Dare you touch my fire again, mud filth, and I'll turn the blood to fire in your veins!" Thirdly, the pain itself made Puddleglum's head for a moment perfectly clear, and he knew exactly what he really thought. There is nothing like a good shock of pain for dissolving certain kinds of magic. "One word, ma'am," he said, coming back from the fire, limping because of the pain. "One word, and all you've been saying is quite right. I shouldn't wonder. I'm a chap who always liked to know the worst and then put the best face I can think of. So I won't deny any of what you said, but there's one thing more to be said even so. Suppose we have only dreamed or made up all those things, trees and grass and sun and moon and stars and Aslan himself. Suppose we have, then all I can say is that in that case, the made-up things seem a good deal more important than the real ones. Suppose this black pit of a kingdom of yours is the only world. Well, it strikes me as a pretty poor one, and that's a funny thing when you come to think of it. Well, we're just babies making up a game, if you're right. But 4 babies playing a game can make a play world which licks your real world hollow. That's why I'm gonna stand by the play world. I'm on Aslan's side, even if there isn't an Aslan to lead it. I'm gonna live like a Narnian as I can, even if there isn't any Narnia. So, thanking you kindly for our supper, if these 2 gentlemen and the young lady are ready, we're leaving your court at once and setting out in the dark to spend our lives looking for Overland. Not that our lives will be very long, I should think, but that's small loss if the world's as dull a place as you say." "Oh, hurrah, good old Puddleglum!" cried Scrub and Jill, but the prince shouted suddenly, "Where? Look to the witch!" And when they did look, their hair nearly stood on end. The instrument dropped from her hands. Her arms appeared to be fastened to her sides. Her legs were intertwined with each other, and her feet had disappeared. The long green train of her skirt thickened and grew solid, and seemed to be all one piece with the writhing green pillar of her interlocked legs. And that writhing green pillar was curving and swaying as it had no joints, or else were all joints. Her head was thrown far back, and while her nose grew longer and longer, every other part of her face seemed to disappear except her eyes. Huge, flaming eyes they were now, without brows or lashes. All this takes time to write down. It happened so quickly that there was only just time to see it. Long before there was time to do anything, the change was complete, and the great serpent which the witch had become, green as poison, thick as Jill's waist, had flung 2 or 3 coils of its loathsome body round the prince's legs. Quick as lightning, another great loop darted round, intending to pinion him, sword arm to his side, but the prince was just in time. He raised his arm and got them clear. The living knot closed only round his chest, ready to crack his ribs like firewood when it drew tight. The prince caught the creature's neck in his left, trying to squeeze it till it choked. This held its face, if you could call it a face, about 5 inches from his own. The forked tongue flickered horribly in and out, but could not reach him. With his right hand, he drew back his sword for the strongest blow he could give. Meanwhile, Scrub and Puddleglum had drawn their weapons and rushed to his aid. All 3 blows fell at once. Scrub's, which had not even pierced the scales and did no good on the body of the snake, below the prince's hand, but the prince's own blow and Puddleglum's both on its neck. Even that did not quite kill it, though it began to loosen its hold on Rillian's legs and chest. With repeated blows, they hacked off its head. The horrible thing went on coiling and moving like a bit of wire long after it had died, and the floor, as you may imagine, was a nasty mess. The prince, when he had breath, said, "Gentlemen, I thank you." Oh. And then the 3 conquerors stood staring at one another and panting without another word for a long time. Jill had very wisely sat down and was keeping quiet. She was saying to herself, "I do hope I don't faint or blub or do anything idiotic." "My royal mother, he's avenged," said Rillian presently. "This is undoubtedly the same worm that I pursued in vain by the fountain in the forest of Narnia so many years ago. All these years I have been the slave of my mother's slayer. Yet I am glad, gentlemen, that the foul witch took to her serpent form at the last. It would not have done suited well, either with my heart or with my honor, to have slain a woman. But look to the lady." He meant Jill. I'm all right, thank you," she said. "Damsel," said the prince, bowing to her, "you are of a high courage, and therefore I doubt not you come of a noble blood in your own world. But come, friends, here is some wine left. Let us refresh ourselves and each pledge his fellows. After that, to our plans." "A jolly good idea, sir," said Scrub. Chapter 13. Underland Without the Queen. All felt that they had earned what Scrub called a breather. The witch had locked the door and told the earthmen not to disturb her, so there was no danger of interruption for the present. Their first business was, of course, Puddleglum's burnt foot. A couple of clean shirts from the prince's bedroom torn into strips and well greased on the inside with butter and salad oil off the supper table made a fairly good dressing. When this had been applied, they all sat down and had a little refreshment and discussed plans for escaping from the underworld. Rillian explained that there was quite a lot of outlets by which one could get to the surface. He had been taken out through most of them at one time or another, but he had never gone out alone, only with the witch, and he had always reached these outlets by going in a ship across the sunless sea. What the Earthmen would say if he went down to the harbor without the witch and with 3 strangers and simply ordered to ship, no one could guess, but most likely they would ask awkward questions. On the other hand, the new outlet, the one of the invasions of the overworld, was on this side of the sea and only a few miles away. The prince knew that it was nearly finished. Only a few feet of earth divided the diggings from the outer air. It was even possible that it had now been quite finished. Perhaps the witch had come back to tell him this and to start the attack. Even if it was not, they could probably dig themselves out by that route in a few hours if they could only get there without being stopped, and if only they found the diggings unguarded. But those were the difficulties. If you ask me," began Puddleglum when Scrub interrupted. "I say," he asked, "what's that noise?" "I've been wondering that for some time," said Jill. They had all, in fact, been hearing the noise, but it had begun and increased so gradually that they did not know what they had first noticed it. For a time, it had only been a vague disquiet, like gentle winds or traffic very far away, and then it swelled to a murmur like the sea. Then came rumblings and rushings, and now there seemed to be voices as well, and also a steady roaring that was not voices. "By the lion," said the Prince Rillian. "It seems this silent land has found a tongue at last." He rose, walked to the window, and drew aside the curtains. The others crowded round him to look out. The very first thing they noticed was a great red glow. Its reflection made a red patch on the roof of the underworld thousands of feet above them, so that they could see a rocky ceiling which had perhaps been hidden in darkness ever since the world was made. The glow itself came from the far side of the country,
The glow itself came from the far side of the city, so that many buildings, grim and great, stood up blackly against it. Alright, we got an ad break. Hold on. On the YouTube. I hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are enjoying. Everybody kick back, get a drink. No, I can't shut them off. I wish.
That is so dumb.
Yeah, I know. Well, welcome to Twitch. Anyway, Crafty Kitty, good to see you over there on YouTube. How you doing?
I'll be right back. I'm gonna get myself a snack.
Yeah, go get yourself a snack. Let me know when you guys are back from the ads. If you feel so inclined, I would be honored.
I'm gonna get some of that protein cereal with me.
Hey, be quick. We've only got 30 seconds. Doing good. Good to hear. Good to hear. We're reaching the end of the story. Including this one. We've only got 3 more chapters left, so. And then we'll be done. We'll be mission complete. On this glorious thing that we call Narnia. Yes. Oh, let me get another sip here. Maybe I need to refresh my coffee. Doo-doo-doo. There we go. Alright, you guys should be back now. We need you. Alright, be quick. Neko Spy, my lord. What timing? Look at that. How are you, my lord? I hope you are well. Good to see you. 3D modeling raid. I see. Glorious. Guys, please make sure you follow Neko Spy. He's very worthy of your time. I am merely your servant, and he is far, far greater than I, so especially in service to our immortal Emperor, Jesus Christ. So, thank you for being here. How are you doing, Neko Spy? How was your stream? What were you 3D modeling, if I may ask? Yes, son.
After today, I only have science. So.
No, not today. Not today. Nope. Not today. I already told you. We've already had this conversation many times already. Spooky Actual. Thank you for the follow. I'm honored. Welcome in. How are you doing today? I just missed some stuff because of the ads. Okay, I'm going to backtrack. Paint me like one of your 3D models, right? Well, my 3D models, I paint like my armor here. So if you like the Heavenly Legion colors and banner, so be it. So be it. There you go. I'm doing well, thanks. I've been working on the movie set from a particular scene from the Dune 2 movie. Oh. Nice. Nice. That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm sure, guys, Neko is, wildly talented. You should go over there and give him a follow and bless him as he has blessed us with marvelous fellowship. Do you have a YouTube as well, Neko? Do you have a YouTube as well? Because we're also streaming to YouTube, so I'm sure they would love to know where to find you. If you happen to be there, but otherwise it's on Twitch. It's on Twitch. I grew up on Space Marines. Bring it on. Glorious. Glorious. Tell your son that you're coolest person I've ever met. I guess so. You're the coolest person I've ever met. You're welcome.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
If me and Daddy stream together, I can put my avatar, but hold on the finished cap up.
Yeah, we'll
see.
see.
To look at Daddy's stream. Daddy's birthday stream.
Well, we got him right here. Boom. Where is he? Boom. I don't know. I don't see you.
Here, I drew this.
Oh, you might be behind the book.
Oh, you know what? Let's see.
Oh wait, you're down here.
Yeah, I drew
There
that
he
myself.
is.
I drew that myself.
That's my son's avatar. He drew that all by himself. Isn't that cool?
Come on up there too.
And my daughter's is around here somewhere.
Daddy drew this.
Where's this one? This is my daughter's. There she is. Right there.
So,
in all of her magnificent glory. Aren't they cute? Alright, we'll put them right there. Here's hide again. I'll bring it back. They're amazing. They're wonderful people. Ghost of Titania. Welcome in. Good to see you. Is that a Star Fox reference? Anyway. But you love, yeah, aren't they cute? They're great. They are very nice. Thank you. We tried very hard. It's good to have them there. He needed the compliment. He did. Yeah, it's all good. No, I really wish, and it is on my list to try and get that up and running at some point, but grad school is taking a lot of my time. I understand that, Neko. You'll get there.
Narnia is one of my favorite stages.
And may you be blessed with victory in grad school. I understand the stress involved with that. These are the coolest models I've ever seen. I'm actually fighting myself so I don't roast them. I don't know. Hey, they're good. They're good. These are good. They're really good. What do you mean? Pony Gear, my lord, good morning. No, my name is an OG Shakespeare reference. Okay. Got it. Because I was thinking like Titania from, the one world from Star Fox. My son loves Star Fox 64. But
Yeah, if it's okay with you, Daddy, maybe I could stream that tomorrow. I've beaten...
We'll see. Tomorrow, we're actually playing Repo with...
I mean, I could stream it on the
Inkazur tomorrow in the midday, so we'll be doing that. We'll see if maybe we can swing it tomorrow or not.
Oh, by the way, if you happen to look on chat,
oh yeah, Neko, you will be there. I forgot. Sorry, I looked at the guest list, and I did see you there. That'll be exciting, buddy. It'll be good to play together.
If you actually look on Discord, I made a Lego R-Wing.
Oh yes, you did. We do have a Discord. My son made an R-Wing out of Legos. No, it's okay. All right, we're gonna read. Ready? We gotta get back to this though. All good, brother, glorious. Yes. So again, please make sure you guys check out Neko Spy, and we'll be playing with him tomorrow along with Inkazur and a few others. But we'll talk more about that after we're done today.
Laser cannons and a cockpit. With
Pretty sick.
A windshield that actually moves up
Pretty
and
sick.
down.
So if you guys want to see it, you can go to the arts and crafts section in the Discord there. Which, boom, there you are. And over on YouTube, if you guys wish to join the Discord, you totally can. There you go. There's the Discord link, and you're welcome to join it. No pressure. I know everybody's got a Discord, but there you go. That's for you. Anyway, we're going to backtrack a little bit. Papa Squat, everybody settle in. And we're going to keep reading again. We're on chapter 12. The witch is dead. And we're seeing what is happening as a result of this. So if you guys, again, if Joseph is just joining us now, we are reading The Silver Chair by C.S. Lewis, part of the Chronicles of Narnia series. This is the 6th book in the series. And we're actually near the end. We're in the last few chapters. So if you've ever heard this book or you want to listen to the rest, you're welcome to sit down. Enjoy as we finish up, and then next week we're going to start the last battle, which is the final book in the series, and we'll be reading that during the morning. So I hope you enjoy. And you need to run for adulting and other homework. Have an amazing stream. Thank you, Neko. I am honored by your fabulous, glorious fellowship, and I'm really honored, buddy. Thank you for the raid. I really do appreciate that. And I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, Rico, there's a new game out today called Bandit Trap on Steam. I think you might like it. Bandit Trap. Okay, let me write that down. Bandit Trap. I'll check it out. I'll see if the Giggle Gang is interested in it too. Might be fun. Might be fun. Aoma, my lord. Good to see you, brother. Welcome in. How are you? All right, we're about to start. Ready? We're gonna start back up. All right. I'm sorry, guys. Here we go. Spoilers, I hope to catch one of your readings in the future. Glorious. You as well, Ghost of Titania. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Titania is one of my favorites.
Oh, and if you guys missed any of the readings of this book or the previous books, you are welcome to go listen to the VODs. But they're all up there. But I am going to get all these edited up and posted on YouTube proper. I have 2 YouTube channels. We're going to get all the readings posted on the Rico is Rico voice acting one, so you can go in there and listen to them there if you want. We'll see. Well, we've read this book 2 streams prior, and then today. So yeah.
I was like, did we get it to Harfang?
All right, hold on. Here we go. So we're gonna start at the top of this paragraph here before the ads. Yeah. The very first thing they noticed was a great red glow. Its reflection made a red patch on the roof of the underworld thousands of feet above them, so that they could see a rocky ceiling which had perhaps been hidden in darkness ever since the world began. The glow itself came from the far side of the city, so that many buildings, grim and great, stood up blackly against it. but it also cast its light down many streets that ran from it towards the castle. And in those streets, something very strange was going on. The closely packed, silent crowds of Earthmen had vanished. Instead, there were figures darting about by ones or twos or threes. They behaved like people who do not want to be seen, lurking in shadow behind buttresses or in doorways, and then moving quickly across the open into fresh places of hiding. But the strangest thing of all, to anyone who knew gnomes, was the noise. Shouts and cries came from all directions, but from the harbor there came a low, rumbling roar, which grew steadily louder and was already shaking the whole city.
"What's happening to the Earthmen?" said Scrub. "Is it them shouting?"
"It is hardly possible," said the prince. "I never heard one of the rascals so much as speak with a loud voice in all the weary years of my bondage. Some new devilry, I don't doubt."
"And what is that red light over there?" asked Jill. "Is something on fire?"
"If you ask me," said Puddleglum, "I should say that was the central fires of the earth breaking out to make a new volcano. We'll be in the middle of it, I shouldn't wonder."
"Oh, look at that ship," said Scrub. "Why, it's coming on so quickly. No one's rowing it."
Look, look," said the prince. "The ship is already far this side of the harbor. It's in the street.
"Look, all the ships are driving into the city. By my head, the sea's rising.
The flood is upon us. Aslan be praised, this castle stands on high ground, but the water comes on grimly fast."
"Oh, what can be happening?" cried Jill. "Fire and water and all these people dodging about the streets?"
"I'll tell you what it is," said Puddleglum. "That witch has laid a train of magic spells so that whenever she was killed, that same moment her whole kingdom would fall to pieces. She's the sort that wouldn't so much mind dying herself if she knew that the chap who killed her was going to be burned, buried, or drowned 5 minutes later."
"Hast hit it, my friend Wiggle," said the prince. "When our swords hacked off the witch's head, that stroke ended all her magic works, and now the deep lands are falling to pieces. We are looking on the end of the underworld."
"Oh, that's it, sir," said Puddleglum. "Unless it should happen to be the end of the whole world."
"But are we just going to stay here and wait?"
gasped Jill. Yenza, it's good to see you. Thank you for the raid. How are you? Guys, please follow Yenza. She's amazing. She's a wildly talented person, an artiste, and a glory. Trust me, a glory to behold in all of her talents. So make sure you give her a follow. We're going to keep going. Let's see.
"But are we just going to stay here and wait?"
gasped Jill. "Not by my counsel," said the prince. "I would save my horse Coalblack and the witch's Snowflake, a noble beast and worthy of a better mistress. We are both stabled in the courtyard. After that, let us make shift to get out to high ground and pray that we shall find an outlet. The horses can carry 2 each at need, and if we put them to it, they may outstrip the flood."
"Will your highness not put up on armor?" asked Puddleglum. "I don't like the look of those,"
And he pointed down to the street. Everyone looked down, and dozens of creatures, and now that they were close, they obviously were Earthmen, were coming up from the direction of the harbor. But they were not moving like an aimless crowd. They behaved like modern soldiers in an attack, making rushes and taking cover, anxious not to be seen from the castle windows. I dare not see the inside of that armor again," said the prince. "I rode in it as an immovable dungeon, and it stinks of magic and slavery. But I will take the shield." He left the room and returned with a strange light in his eyes a moment later. "Look, friends," he said, holding out the shield toward them. "An hour ago it was black and without device, and now this." The shield had turned bright as silver, and on it, redder than blood for cherries, was the figure of the lion. "Doubtless," said the prince, "this signifies that Aslan will be our good lord, or that he means us to live or die, and all's one for that. Now by my counsel we shall all kneel and kiss his likeness, and then all shake hands one with another, as true friends that may shortly be parted. And then let us descend into the city and take the adventure that has sent us." And they all did as the prince had said, but when Scrub shook hands with Jill, he said, "So long, Jill. Sorry I've been a funk and so ratty. I hope you get safe home." And Jill said, "So long, Eustace, and I'm sorry I've been such a pig."
And this was the first time they had ever used Christian names because one didn't do it at school. Their first names.
Oh.
Yeah. The prince unlocked the door and they all went down the stairs. 3 of them with drawn swords and Jill with drawn knife. The attendants had vanished and the great room at the foot of the prince's stairs was empty. The gray, doleful lamps were still burning, and by their light they had no difficulty in passing gallery after gallery and descending stairway after stairway. The noises from outside the castle were not so easily heard here as they had been in the room above. Inside the house all was still as death and deserted. It was as they turned a corner into the great hall on the ground floor that they met their first earthman, a fat, whitish creature with a very pig-like face who was gobbling up all the remains of food on the tables. It squealed. The squeal also was very like a pig's, and darted under a bench, whisking its long tail out of Puddleglum's reach in the nick of time. Then it rushed away through the far door too quickly to be followed. From the hall they came out into the courtyard. Jill, who went to a riding school in the holidays, had just noticed the smell of a stable, a very nice, honest, homely smell it is to meet in a place like Underland, when Eustace said, "Great Scott, look at that!" A magnificent rocket had risen from somewhere beyond the castle walls and broken into green stars. "Fireworks," said Jill in a puzzled voice. "Yes," said Eustace, "but you can't imagine those Earth people letting them off for fun. It must be a signal." "It means no good to us, I'll be bound," said Puddleglum. "Friends," said the prince, "when once a man is launched on such an adventure as this, he must bid farewell to hopes and fears. Otherwise death or deliverance will both come to the late to save his honor and his reason. Ho, my beauties." He was now opening the stable doors. "Hey, cousins, steady, coal-black, softly now, Snowflake, you are not forgotten." The horses were both frightened by the strange lights and the noises. Jill, who had been so cowardly about going through a black hole between one cave and another, went in without fear between the stamping and snorting beasts, and she and the prince had them saddled and bridled in a few moments. Very fine they looked as they came out into the courtyard, tossing their heads. Jill mounted Snowflake, and Puddleglum got up behind her. Eustace got up behind the prince on Coalblack. Then, with a great echo of hooves, they rode out of the main gateway into the street. "Not much danger of being burnt, that's the bright side of it," observed Puddleglum, pointing to their right. There, hardly 100 yards away, lapping against the walls of the houses, was water. "Courage," said the prince. "The road there goes down deeply. That water has climbed only up half the greatest hill of the city. It might come so near in the first half hour and come no nearer in the next 2. My fear is more of that," and he pointed with his sword to a great tall earthman with boar's tusks, followed by 6 others of assorted shapes and sizes, who had just dashed out of a side street and stepped into the shadow of the house, where no one could see them. The prince led them, aiming always in the direction of the glowing red light, but a little to the left of it. His plan was to get round the fire, if it was a fire, onto the high ground in hopes that they might find their way to the new diggings. Unlike the other 3, he seemed to be almost enjoying himself. He whistled as he rode and sang snatches of an old song about Corin Thunderfist of Arkenland. The truth is, he was so glad at being free from his long enchantment that all dangers seemed a game in comparison. But the rest found it an eerie journey. Behind them was the sound of clashing and entangled ships and the rumble of collapsing buildings. Overhead was the great patch of lurid light on the roof of the underworld. Ahead was the mysterious glow which did not seem to grow any bigger. From the same direction came the continual hubbub of shouts, screams, catcalls, laughter, squeals, and bellowings, and fireworks of all sorts rose into the dark air. No one could guess what they meant. Nearer to them, the city was partly lit up by the red glow and partly by the very different light of the dreary gnome lamps. But there were so many places where neither of these lights fell, and those places were jet black. And in and out of those places the shapes of earthmen were darting and slipping all the time, always with their eyes fixed on the travelers, always trying to keep out of sight themselves. There were big and little faces, huge eyes like fishes' eyes, and little eyes like beers.
There were feathers and bristles, horns and tusks, noses like whipcord, and chins so long that they looked like beards. Every now and then a group of them would get too big or come too near. Then the prince would brandish his sword and make a show of charging them, and the creatures, with all manners of hootings, squeakings, and cluckings, would dive away into the darkness. When they had climbed many steep streets and were far away from the flood, and almost out of the town on the inland side, it began to be more serious. They were now close to the red glow and nearly on a level with it, though they still could not see what it really was, but by its light they could see their enemies more clearly. Hundreds, perhaps a few 100,000 of gnomes were all moving towards it, but they were doing so in short rushes, and whenever they stopped, they turned and faced the travelers.
If your highness asks me, said Puddleglum, I'd say those fellows are meaning to cut us off in front.
That was my thought too, Puddleglum, said the prince, and we can never fight our way through so many. Hark you, let us ride forth close by the edge of yonder house, and even as we reach it, do you slip off into the shadow. The lady and I will go forward a few paces. Some of these devils will follow us, I have no doubt. They are thick behind us. Do you who have long arms take one alive if you may as it passes your ambush. We may get a true tale of it and learn what it is their quarrel against us.
Won't the others all come rushing at us to rescue the one we catch? Said Jill in a voice not so steady as she tried to make it.
Then, madam, said the prince, you shall see us die fighting around you, and you must commend yourself to the lion. Now, good Puddleglum.
The marsh wiggle slipped off into the shadow as quickly as a cat. The others, for a sickening minute or two, went forward at a walk, and then suddenly from behind them there broke out a series of blood-curdling screams, mixed with the familiar voice of Puddleglum saying,
Now then, don't cry out before you're hurt, or you will be hurt, you see. Anyway, would you think it was a pig being killed? Goodness.
Ah, this was a good hunting, exclaimed the prince, immediately turning coal-black and coming back to the corner of the house. Eustace, he said, of your courtesy, take coal-black's head. Then he dismounted, and all three gazed in silence while Puddleglum pulled this catch out into the light. It was a most miserable little gnome, only about 3 feet long. It had a sort of ridge like a coxcomb, only hard, on the tip of its head, little pink eyes, and a mouth and a chin so large and round that its face looked like that of a pygmy hippopotamus. If they had not been in such a tight place, they would have burst into laughter at the sight of it. Now, Earthman, said the prince, standing over and holding his sword point very near the prisoner's neck, speak up, like an honest gnome, and you shall go free. Play the knave with us, and you are but a dead Earthman. Good Puddleglum, how can it speak while you hold its mouth tight shut?
Well, no, and it can't bite neither, said Puddleglum. If I had the silly off and soft hands you humans have, save your highness's reference, I'd have been all over blood by now, yet even a marsh wiggle gets tired of being chewed.
Sirrah, said the prince to the gnome, one bite and you die. Let its mouth open, Puddleglum.
Squealed the Earthman. Let me go, it isn't me, I didn't do it.
Didn't do what? Asked Puddleglum.
Whatever your honor say I did do,
answered the creature. Tell me your name, said the prince, and what you Earthmen are all about today.
Oh, please, your honor, please, kind gentlemen, whispered the gnome. Promise you will not tell the Queen's Grace anything I said.
The Queen's Grace, as you call her, said Prince sternly, is dead. I killed her myself.
What? Cried the gnome, opening its ridiculous mouth wider and wider in astonishment. Dead? The witch is dead? By your honor's hand? It gave a huge sigh of relief and added, Why, then your honor is a friend. The prince withdrew his sword an inch or so. Puddleglum let the creature sit up. It looked round on the four travelers with its twinkling red eyes, chuckled once or twice, and began. And that's the end of chapter 13. Anyway, Yenza, if you're still here, thank you so much. I know you're running off, but I appreciate the raid. Thank you, everybody, for being here. If you guys are interested in hanging out, we are reading The Silver Chair by C.S. Lewis. It's the last couple chapters, so if
You can always catch the other VODs if you want to hear the rest, or pick up the book yourself. It's amazing. Yeah. All right. Well, here we go. Here we go. You guys ready?
Computer all day.
Maybe. Not all day. All right, ready? We're going to do chapter 14 now. Here we go. Here we go. The Bottom of the World, chapter 14.
My name is Golg, said the gnome, and I'll tell your honors all I know. About an hour ago, we were all going about our work, her work, I should say, sad and silent, same as we've done any other day for years and years. And then came a great crash and a bang. As soon as they heard it, everyone says to himself, I haven't had a song or a dance or let off a squib for a long time. Why's that? And everyone thinks to himself, why, I must have been enchanted. And then everyone says to himself, I'm blessed if I know why I'm carrying this load, and I'm not going to carry it any further. That's that. And down we all throw our sacks and bundles and tools, and then everyone turns and sees the great red glow over yonder. And everyone says to himself, what's that? And everyone answers himself and says, oh, there's a crack, a chasm split open, and a nice warm glow coming up through it from the really deep land 1,000 fathoms under us. Great Scott, exclaimed Eustace. Are there other lands still lower down? Oh, yes, Your Honour, said Golg. Lovely places, what we call the land of Bism. This country, where we are now, the witches' country, is what we call the shallow lands. It's a good deal too near the surface to suit us. You might almost as well be living outside on the surface itself. You see, we're all poor gnomes from Bism, who the witch has called up here by magic to work for her. But we've forgotten all about it till that crash came and the spell broke. We didn't know who we were, where we belonged. We couldn't do anything or think anything except that she put into our heads. Oh, and it was glum and gloomy things she put there all those years. I've nearly forgotten how to make a joke or dance a jig, but the moment the bang came and the chasm opened and the sea began rising, it all came back. And of course, we all set off as quick as we could to get down the crack and home to our own place. Oh, and you can see them over there all letting off rockets and standing on their heads for joy. Oh, I'll be very obliged to your honours if you'll soon let me go and join in. I think this is simply splendid, said Jill. I'm so glad we freed the gnomes as well as ourselves when we cut off the witch's head. Well, and I'm so glad they aren't really horrid and gloomy any more than the prince really was. Well, what he seemed like.
That's all very well, Paul, said Puddleglum cautiously, but these gnomes didn't look to me like chaps who were just running away. It looked more like military formations, if you ask me. You look me in the face, Mr. Golg, and tell me you weren't preparing for battle.
Of course we were, Your Honour, said Golg. You see, we didn't know the witch was dead. We thought she'd be watching from the castle. We were trying to slip away without being seen. And then when you four came out with swords and horses, of course everyone says to himself, here it comes, not knowing that his honour wasn't on the witch's side. And we were determined to fight like anything rather than give up the hope of going back to Bism.
I'll be sworn 'tis an honest gnome, said the prince. Let go of it, friend Puddleglum. As for me, good Golg, I have been enchanted like you and your fellows, and have but newly remembered myself. Now, one question more. Do you know the way to those new diggings by which the sorceress meant to lead out an army against Overland?
Ah, squeaked Golg. Yes, I know that terrible road. I will show you where it begins, but it is no manner of use, Your Honour, asking me to go with you on it. I'd rather die.
Why? Asked Eustace anxiously. What's so dreadful about it?
Oh, it's too near the top, the outside, said Golg, shuddering. That was the worst thing the witch did to us. We were going to be led out into the open, into the outside of the world. They say there's no roof at all. There's only a horrible great emptiness called the sky. The diggings have gone so far that a few strokes of the pick would bring you out to it. Oh, I wouldn't dare go near them. Hurrah, now you're talking, cried Eustace and Jill. But it's not horrid at all up there. We like it. We live there. Ah, I know you overlanders live there, said Golg. But I thought it was because you couldn't find your way down inside. You can't really like it, crawling like flies on the top of the world.
What about showing us that road at once, said Puddleglum.
Oh, in a good hour, cried the prince. The whole party set out. The prince remounted his charger, Puddleglum climbed up behind Jill, and Golg led the way. As he went, he kept shouting out the good news that the witch was dead, and that the 4 overlanders were not dangerous, and those who heard him shouted it on to others, so that in a few minutes the whole of Underland was ringing with shouts and cheers, and gnomes by hundreds and thousands leaping, turning cartwheels, standing on their heads, playing leapfrog, and letting off huge crackers, came pressing round Coalblack and Snowflake, and the prince had to tell the story of his own enchantment and deliverance at least 10 times. In this way they came to the edge of the chasm. It was about 1,000 feet long and perhaps 200 wide. They dismounted from their horses and came to the edge and looked down into it. A strong heat smote up into their faces, mixed with a smell which was quite unlike any they had ever smelled. It was rich, sharp, exciting, and made you sneeze. The depth of the chasm was so bright that at first it dazzled their eyes, and they could see nothing. When they got used to it, they thought they could make out a river of fire, and on the banks of that river what seemed to be fields and groves of an unbearable hot brilliance, though they were dim compared with the river. There were blues, reds, greens, and whites all jumbled together. A very good stained glass window with the tropical sun staring straight through it at midday might have something of the same effect. Down the rugged sides of the chasm, looking black like flies against all that fiery light, hundreds of earthmen were climbing. "Your honors," said Golg, and when they turned to look at him they could see nothing but blackness for a few minutes. Their eyes were so dazzled. "Your honors, why don't you come down to Bism? Oh, you'd be happier there than in that cold, unprotected, naked country out on the top. Or at least come down for a short visit." Jill took it for granted that none of the others would listen to such an idea for a moment. To her horror, she heard the prince saying, "Truly, friend Golg, I have half a mind to come down with you, for this is a marvelous adventure, and it may be no mortal man has ever looked into Bism before, or will ever have the chance again, and I know not how, as the years pass, I shall bear to remember that it was once in my power to have probed the uttermost pit of the earth, and that I forbore. But could a man live there? Do you not swim in the fire river itself?" "Oh, no, your honor, no, not we. It's only salamanders live in the fire itself." "What kind of beast is your salamander?" asked the prince. "Oh, it is hard to tell your kind, your honor," said Golg. "For they are too white-hot to look at, but they are most like small dragons. They speak to us out of the fire. They are wonderfully clever with their tongues, very witty and eloquent." Jill glanced hastily at Eustace. She had felt sure that he would like the idea of sliding down that chasm even less than she did. Her heart sank as she saw that his face was quite changed. He looked much more like the prince than like the old scrub at Experiment House. For all his adventures and the days when he had sailed with King Caspian were coming back to him. "Your Highness," he said, "if my old friend Reepicheep the Mouse were here, he would say we could not now refuse the adventures of Bism without a great impeachment to our honor." "Oh, down there," said Golg, "I can show you real gold, real silver, real diamonds." "Bosh," said Jill rudely, "as if we didn't know that we're below the deepest mines even here." "Yes," said Golg, "I have heard of those little scratches in the crust that you top dwellers call mines. That's where you get dead gold, dead silver, dead gems. Down in Bism, we have them alive and glowing." There I'll pick you bunches of rubies that you can eat and squeeze you a cup full of diamond juice. You won't care much about fingering the cold, dead treasures of your shallow minds after you've tasted the live ones in Bism.
My friend went to the world's end, said Rillian thoughtfully. It would be a marvelous thought if his son went to the bottom of the world.
If your highness wants to see your father while he's still alive, which I think he'd prefer, said Puddleglum, it's about time we were getting on to that road to the diggings.
And I won't go down that hole, whatever anyone says, added Jill.
Why, if your honours are really set to go back to Overworld, said Golg, there is but one other road that's rather lower than this, and perhaps if that flood is still rising...
Oh, do, come on, begged Jill.
I feared it must be so, said the prince with a deep sigh. But I have left half of my heart in the land of Bism.
Please, begged Jill.
Where is the road? Asked Puddleglum.
There are lamps all the way, said Golg. Your honor can see the beginning of the road on the far side of the chasm.
How long will the lamps burn for? Asked Puddleglum.
At that moment, a hissing, scorching voice, like the voice of fire itself. They wondered afterward if it could have been a salamander's, came whistling up out of the very depth of Bism.
Quick, to the cliffs, it said. The rift closes, it closes, quick!
And at that, the same time, with ear-shattering cracks and creaks, the rocks moved. Already, while they looked, the chasm was narrower. From every side, belated gnomes were rushing into it. They would not wait to climb down the rocks. They flung themselves headlong, and either because so strong a blast of hot air was beating up from the bottom, or for some other reason, they could be seen floating downward like leaves. Thicker and thicker they floated till their blackness almost blotted out the fiery river and the groves of live gems.
Goodbye, your honors. I'm off,
shouted Golg, and dove. Only a few were left to follow him. The chasm was now no broader than a stream, and now it was narrow as the slit in a pillar box. Now it was only an intensely bright thread. Then, with a shock like 1,000 goods trains crashing into 1,000 pairs of buffers, the lips of rock closed. The hot, maddening smell vanished. The travelers were alone. In an underworld which now looked far blacker than before. Pale, dim, and dreary, the lamps marked the direction of the road.
Now, said Puddleglum, it's 10 to 1 we've already stayed too long, but we may as well make a try. Those lamps will give out in 5 minutes, I shouldn't wonder.
They urged the horses to a canter and thundered along the dusty road in fine style. But almost at once it began going downhill. They would have thought Golg had sent them the wrong way if they had not seen on the other side of the valley the lamps going on and upward as far as the eye could reach. But at the bottom of the valley the lamps shone on moving water. "Haste!" cried the prince. They galloped down the slope. It would have been nasty enough at the bottom even 5 minutes later, for the tide was running up the valley like a mill race, and if it had come to swimming, the horses could hardly have won over. But it was still only a foot or two deep, and though it was swished terribly round the horses' legs, they reached the far side in safety. Then began the slow, weary march uphill, with nothing ahead to look at but the pale lamps, which went up and up as far as the eye could reach. When they looked back, they could see the water spreading. All the hills of Underland were now islands, and it was only on those islands that the lamps remained. Every moment some distant light vanished. Soon there would be total darkness everywhere, except on the road they were following, and even on the lower part of it behind them. Though no lamps had yet gone out, the lamplight shone on water. Although they had good reason for hurrying, the horses could not go on forever without a rest. They halted, and in silence they could hear the lapping of water.
I wonder, what's his name? Father Time flooded out now, said Jill, and all those queer sleeping animals.
Oh, I don't think we're as high as that, said Eustace. Do you remember how we had to go downhill to reach the Sunless Sea? I shouldn't think the water has reached Father Time's cave yet.
That's as may be, said Puddleglum, I'm more interested in the lamps on this road. Look a bit sickly, don't they?
They always did, said Jill.
Ah, said Puddleglum, but they're greener now.
You don't mean to say you think they're going out, cried Eustace.
Well,
Oh, sorry, this is the...
yeah, well, however they work, you can't expect them to last forever, you know, replied the Marshwiggle. But don't let your spirits down, Scrub. I've got my eye on the water, too, and I don't think it's rising as fast as it did.
Small comfort, friend, said the prince. If we cannot find our own way out, I cry you mercy all. I am to blame for my pride in fantasy which delayed us by the mouth of the land of Bism. Now, let us ride on. During the hour or so that followed, Jill sometimes thought that Puddleglum was right about the lamps, and sometimes thought it was only her imagination. Meanwhile, the land was changing. The roof of Underland was so near that even by that dull light they could now see it quite distinctly. And the great, rugged walls of Underland could be seen drawing closer on each side. The road, in fact, was leading them up into a steep tunnel. They began to pass picks and shovels and barrows and other signs that the diggers had recently been at work. If only one could be sure of getting out. All this was very cheering, but the thought of going on into a hole that would get narrower and narrower and harder to turn back in was very unpleasant. At last, the roof was so low that Puddleglum and the prince knocked their heads against it. The party dismounted and led the horses. The road was uneven here, and one had to pick one's steps with some care. That was how Jill noticed the growing darkness. There was no doubt about it now. The faces of the others looked strange and ghastly in the green glow. Then all at once, she couldn't help it, Jill gave a little scream. One light, the next one ahead, went out altogether. The one behind them did the same. Then they were in absolute darkness. "Courage, friends," came Prince Rillian's voice. "Whether we live or die, Aslan will be our good lord." "That's right, sir," said Puddleglum's voice. "And you must always remember there's one good thing about being trapped down here. It'll save funeral expenses." Jill held her tongue. If you don't want other people to know how frightened you are, this is always a wise thing to do. It's your voice that gives you away.
"We might as well go on and stand here," said Eustace.
And when she heard the tremble in his voice, Jill knew how wise she'd been not to trust her own. Puddleglum and Eustace went first, with their arms stretched out in front of them, for fear of blundering into anything. Jill and the prince followed, leading the horses.
"I say," came Eustace's voice much later, "are my eyes going queer, or is there a patch of light up ahead?"
Before anyone could answer him, Puddleglum called out,
"Stop! I'm up against a dead end. Oh, and it's earth, not rock. What were you saying, Scrub?"
"By the lion," said the prince. "Eustace is right. There's a sort of..."
"But it's not daylight," said Jill. "It's only a cold blue sort of light." "Well, it's better than nothing," said Eustace. "Can we get up to it?"
"Nah, it's not right overhead," said Puddleglum. "It's above us, but it's in this wall that I've run into. How would it be, Pole, if you got on my shoulder and saw whether we could get up to it?"
Chapter 15. The disappearance of Jill. The patch of light did not show up anything down in the darkness where they were standing. The others could only hear, not see. Jill's efforts to get onto the Marshwiggle's back, that is, they heard him saying,
"You needn't put your finger in my eye, and now your foot's in my mouth, favor. And that's more like it. Okay, there we go. And now I'll hold on to your legs. That'll leave your arms free to steady yourself against the earth."
And then they looked up, and soon they saw the black shape of Jill's head against the patch of light.
"Well," they all shouted up anxiously. "It's a hole!" cried Jill's voice. "I could get through it if I was a bit higher." "What do you see, though? Was there anything?" asked Eustace. "Nothing much yet," said Jill. "I say, Puddleglum, let go my legs so I can stand on your shoulders. Instead of sitting on them, I can get myself all right against the ledge."
They could hear her moving, and then much more of her came into sight against the grayness of the opening. In fact, all of her down to the waist.
I say, began Jill, but suddenly broke off with a cry. Not a sharp cry. It sounded more as if her mouth had been muffled up or had something pushed into it. After that she found her voice and seemed to be shouting out as loud as she could, but they couldn't hear the words. Two things then happened at the same moment. The patch of light was completely blocked up for a second or so, and they heard both a scuffling, struggling sound and the voice of the marsh wiggle gasping, Quick! Quick, help! Hold on to her legs! Someone's pulling her! They're out now here! No, oh, it's too late! The opening and the cold light which filled it were now perfectly clear again. Jill had vanished. Jill! Jill! They shouted frantically, but there was no answer. Why the dickens couldn't you have held her feet? Said Eustace. I don't know, Scrub, groaned Puddleglum. Born to be a misfit, I shouldn't wonder. Fated to be Paul's death, just as I was fated to eat talking stag at Harfang. Not that it isn't my own fault as well, of course. Oh, this is the greatest shame and sorrow that could have fallen on us, said the prince. We have sent a brave lady in the hands of enemies and stayed behind in safety. Oh, don't paint it too black, sir, said Puddleglum. We're not very safe except for death by starvation in this hole. I wonder, am I small enough to get through where Jill did, said Eustace. What had really happened to Jill was this. As soon as she got her head out of the hole, she found that she was looking down as if from an upstairs window, not up as if through a trap door. She had been so long in the dark that her eyes couldn't at first take in what they were seeing, except that she was not looking at the daylight. Sunny world. Except that she was not looking at the daylit, sunny world which she so wanted to see. The air seemed to be deadly cold, and the light was pale and blue. There was also a good deal of noise going on, and a lot of white objects flying about in the air. It was at that moment that she had shouted down to Puddleglum to let her stand on his shoulders. When she had done this, she could see and hear a good deal better. The noises she had been hearing turned out to be two kinds. The rhythmical thump of several feet and the music of 4 fiddles, 3 flutes, and a drum. She also got her own position clear. She was looking out of a hole in a steep bank which sloped down and reached the level about 14 feet below her.
Look, they really want you hydrated. I don't know.
Everything was very white. A lot of people were moving about.
And then she gasped. The people were trim little fauns and dryads with leaf-crowned hair floating behind them. For a second, they looked as if they were moving. Anyhow, then she saw that they were really doing a dance with so many complicated steps and figures that it took you some time to understand it. Then it came over her like a thunderclap that the pale blue light was moonlight, and the white stuff on the ground was really snow. And of course, there were the stars staring in a black, frosty sky overhead, and the tall black things behind the dancers were trees. They had not only got out onto the upper world at last, but had come out into the heart of Narnia. Jill felt she could have fainted with delight, and the music, the wild music, intensely sweet, and yet just the least bit eerie too, full of good magic, as the witch's thrumming had been full of bad magic, made her feel it all the more. All this takes a long time to tell, but of course it took a very short time to see. Jill turned almost at once to shout down to the others, I say it's all right. We're out and we're home. But the reason she never got further than I say was this. Circling round and round the dancers was a ring of dwarfs, all dressed in their finest clothes, mostly scarlet, with fur-lined hoods and golden tassels and big furry-topped boots. As they circled round, they were all diligently throwing snowballs. Those were the white things that Jill had seen flying through the air. They weren't throwing them at the dancers, as silly boys might have been doing in England. They were throwing them through the dancers in such perfect time with the music, and with such perfect aim that if all the dancers were in exactly the same places at exactly the right moments, no one would be hit. This is called the Great Snow Dance, and is done every year in Narnia on the first moonlit night, when there is snow on the ground. Of course, it is a kind of game as well as a dance, because every now and then some dancer will be the least little bit wrong and get a snowball in the face, and then everyone laughs. But a good team of dancers, dwarfs, and musicians will keep it up for hours without a single hit.
On fine nights when the cold and the drum taps and the hooting of the owls and the moonlight have got into their wild woodland blood and made it even wilder, they will dance till daybreak. I wish you could see it for yourselves. What had stopped Jill when she got as far as the say of I say was, of course, simply a fine big snowball that came sailing through the dance from a dwarf on the far side and got her fair and square in the mouth. She didn't in the least mind. 20 snowballs would not have dampened her spirits at that moment, but however happy you were feeling, you can't talk with your mouth full of snow. And when, after considerable spluttering, she could speak again, she quite forgot in her excitement that the others, down in the dark behind her, still didn't know the good news. She simply leaned as far out of the hole as she could and yelled to the dancers, "Help! Help! We're buried in the hill! Come and dig us out!" The Narnians, who had not even noticed the little hole in the hillside, were of course very surprised, and looked about in several wrong directions before they found out where the voice was coming from. But when they caught sight of Jill, they all came running toward her, and as many as could scrambled up the bank, and a dozen or more hands were stretched up to help her. And Jill caught hold of them, and thus got out of the hole and came slithering down the bank, head first, and then picked herself up and said, "Oh, do go and dig the others out. There are 3 others beside the horses, and one of them is Prince Rillian." She was already in the middle of a crowd when she said this, for besides the dancers, all sorts of people who had been watching the dance, and whom she had not seen at first, came running up. Squirrels came out of the trees in showers, and so did owls. Hedgehogs came waddling as fast as their short legs would carry them. Bears and badgers followed at a slower pace. A great panther, twitching its tail in excitement, was the last to join the party. But as soon as they understood what Jill was saying, they all became active. "Pick and shovel, boys! Pick and shovel off for your tools!" said the dwarves, and dashed away into the woods at top speed. "Wake up some moles, they're the good chaps for digging. They're quite as good as the dwarfs," said a voice. "What was that she said about Prince Rillian?" said another. "Hush!" said the panther. "The poor child's crazed, and no wonder of being lost inside the hill. She doesn't know what she's saying." "That's right," said an old bear. "Why, she said Prince Rillian was a horse." "No, she didn't," said a squirrel, very pert. "Yes, she did," said another squirrel, even perter. "It's quite true. Don't be so silly," said Jill. She spoke like that because her teeth were now chattering with the cold. Immediately, one of the dryads flung around her a furry cloak which some dwarf had dropped when he rushed to fetch his mining tools, and an obliging fawn trotted off among the trees to a place where Jill could see firelight in the mouth of a cave to get her a hot drink. But before it came, all the dwarfs reappeared with spades and pickaxes and charged at the hillside. And then Jill heard cries of, "Hi, what are you doing? Put that sword down, and now, young'un, none of that, none of that." And, "Oh, he's a vicious one now, isn't he?" Jill hurried to the spot and didn't notice whether to laugh or cry when she saw Eustace's face, very pale and dirty, projecting from the blackness of the hole, and Eustace's right hand brandishing a sword with which he made lunges at anyone who came near him. For, of course, Eustace had been having a very different time from Jill during the last few minutes. He had heard Jill cry out and seen her disappear into the unknown, and like the prince in Puddleglum, he thought that some enemies had caught her, and from down below he didn't see that the pale bluish light was moonlight. He thought the hole would lead only into some other cave, lit by some ghostly phosphorescence and filled with goodness knows what evil creatures of the underworld. So that when he had persuaded Puddleglum to give him a back and drawn his sword and poked at his head, he had really been doing a very brave thing. The others would have done it first if they could, but the hole was too small for them to climb through. Eustace was a little bigger and a lot clumsier than Jill, so that when he looked out, he bumped his head against the top of the hole and brought a small avalanche of snow down on his face. And so, when he could see again and saw a dozen figures coming at him as hard as they could run, it is not surprising that he tried to ward them off. "Stop, Eustace, stop!" cried Jill. "They're all friends, can't you see? We've come up into Narnia. Everything's all right." And then Eustace did see, and apologized to the dwarfs, and the dwarf said not to mention it. And dozens of thick, hairy, dwarvish hands helped him out, just as they had helped Jill out of a few minutes ago. Then Jill scrambled up the bank and put her head in at the dark opening and shouted the good news to the prisoners. As she turned away, she heard Puddleglum mutter, "Oh, poor Pole, it's been too much for her this last bit. Turned her head, I shouldn't wonder. She's beginning to see things." Jill rejoined Eustace, and they shook one another by hands and took in great deep breaths of the free midnight air. And a warm cloak was brought for Eustace, and hot drinks for both. While they were sipping it, the dwarves had already got all the snow and all the sods off the large strip of the hillside round the original hole. And the pickaxes and spades were now going as merrily as the feet of fauns and dryads had been going in the dance 10 minutes before. Only 10 minutes. Yet already it felt to Jill and Eustace as if all their dangers in the dark and heat and general smotheriness of the earth must have been only a dream. Out here in the cold with the moon and the huge stars overhead, Narnian stars are nearer than stars in our world, and with kind, merry faces all round them, one couldn't quite believe in Underland. Before they had finished their hot drinks, a dozen or so moles, newly waked and still very sleepy and not well pleased, had arrived, but as soon as they understood what it was all about, they joined in with a will. Even the fawns made themselves useful by carting away the earth in little barrows, and the squirrels danced and leapt to and fro in great excitement, though Jill never found out exactly what they thought they were doing. The bears and owls contented themselves with giving advice and kept on asking the children if they wouldn't like to come into the cave. That was where Jill had seen the firelight, and get warm and have supper. But the children couldn't bear to go without seeing their friends set free. No one in our world can work at a job of that sort as dwarves and talking moles work in Narnia. But then, of course, moles and dwarfs don't look on it as work. They like digging. It was therefore not really long before they had opened a great black chasm in the hillside, and out from the blackness into the moonlight, this would have been rather dreadful if one hadn't known who were there, came first the long-legged, steeple-hatted figure of the Marshwiggle, and then, leading two great horses, Rillian the Prince himself. As Puddleglum appeared, shouts broke out on every side. "Why, it's a Wiggle! Why, it's old Puddleglum! Oh, Puddleglum from the Eastern Marshes! Whatever have you been doing, Puddleglum? There have been search parties out for you. The Lord Trumpkin has been putting up notices. There's a reward offered." But all this died away all in one moment into dead silence as quickly as the noise dies away in the rowdy dormitory of the headmaster opened the door, for now they saw the prince. No one doubted for a moment who it was. There were plenty of beasts and dryads and dwarfs and fauns who remembered him from the days before his enchanting. There were some old ones who could just remember how his father, King Caspian, had looked when he was a young man and saw the likeness. But I think they would have known him anyway. Pale though he was from long imprisonment in the deep lands, dressed in black, dusty, disheveled, and weary, there was something in his face and air which no one could mistake. That look is in the face of all true kings of Narnia, who rule by the will of Aslan and sit at Cair Paravel on the throne of Peter the High King. Instantly, every head was bared and every knee was bent. A moment later, such cheering and shouting, such jumps and reels of joy, such handshakings and kissings and embracings of everybody by everybody else broke out that the tears came into Jill's eyes. That quest had been worth all the pains it cost.
"Please it, your highness," said the oldest of the dwarfs. "There is some attempt at a supper in the cave yonder, prepared against the ending of the snow dance."
"With a good will, father," said the prince, "for never had any prince, knight, gentleman, or bear so good a stomach to his victuals as we four wanderers have tonight." The whole crowd began to move away through the trees toward the cave. Jill heard Puddleglum saying to those pressed round him, No, my story can wait. Nothing worth talking about has happened to me. I want to hear the news. Don't try breaking it to me gently, for I'd rather have it all at once. Has the king been shipwrecked? Any forest fires? No wars on the Calorman border? Or a few dragons, I shouldn't wonder. And all the creatures laughed out loud and said, Isn't that just like a Marshwiggle? The two children were nearly dropping with tiredness and hunger, but the warmth of the cave and the very sight of it, with the firelight dancing on the walls and dressers and cups and saucers and plates and all the smooth stone floor, just as it does in a farmhouse kitchen, revived them a little. All the same, they went fast asleep while supper was being ready, and while they slept, Prince Rillian was talking over the whole adventure with the older and wiser beasts and dwarfs, and now they all saw what it meant. How a wicked witch, doubtless the same kind as that white witch who had brought the great winter on Narnia long ago,
had contrived the whole thing, first killing Rillian's mother and enchanting Rillian himself, and they saw how she had dug right under Narnia and was going to break out and rule it through Rillian, and how he had never dreamed that the country of which she would make him king in name, but really her slave, was his own country. And from the children's part of the story, they saw how she was in league and friendship with the dangerous giants of Harfang, and the lesson of it all is, Your Highness, said the oldest dwarf, that those northern witches always mean the same thing, but in every age they have a different plan for getting it.
Chapter 16. The Healing of Harms. So this is the end. When Jill woke next morning and found herself in a cave, she thought for one horrid moment that she was back in the underworld. But when she noticed that she was lying on a bed of heather with a furry mantle over her, and saw a cheery fire crackling as if newly lit on a stone hearth, and farther off, morning sunlight coming in through the cave's mouth, she remembered all the happy truth. They had had a delightful supper, all crowded into that cave in spite of being so sleepy before it was properly over. She had a vague impression of dwarfs crowding round the fire with frying pans, rather bigger than themselves, and the hissing and delicious smell of sausages, and more and more and more sausages. And not wretched sausages, half full of bread and soybean either, but really meaty, spicy ones, fat and piping hot and burst and just the tiniest bit burnt. And great mugs of frothy chocolate, and roast potatoes, and roast chestnuts, and baked apples with raisins stuck in where the cores had been, and then ices just to freshen you up after all the hot things. Jill sat up and looked round. Puddleglum and Eustace were lying not far away, both fast asleep.
"Hi, you two," shouted Jill in a loud voice. "Aren't you ever going to get up?"
"Oh, shoo, shoo," said a sleepy voice somewhere above her. "Time to be settling down. Have a good snooze. Do-do. Don't make a to-do. To-hoo."
"Why, I do believe," said Jill, glancing up at a white bundle of fluffy feathers which was perched on top of a grandfather clock in one corner of the cave, "I do believe it's Glimfeather."
"True, true," whirred the owl, lifting his head out from under his wing and opening one eye. "I came up with a message for the prince at about Too-hoo. The squirrels brought us the good news. Message for the prince. He's gone. You're to follow too. Good day. Hoo-hoo." And the head disappeared again. As there seemed no further hope of getting any more information from the owl, Jill got up and began looking round for any chance of a wash and some breakfast. But almost at once a little fawn came trotting into the cave with a sharp click-clack of his goaty hoofs on the stone floor.
"Oh, you've woken up at last, daughter of Eve," he said. "Perhaps you'd better wake the son of Adam. You've got to be off in a few minutes, and 2 centaurs have been kindly offered to let you ride on their backs down to Cair Paravel." He added in a lower voice, "Of course you realize it is a most special and unheard of honor to be allowed to ride a centaur. I don't know that I've ever heard of anyone doing it before. It wouldn't do to keep them waiting."
"Oh, where's the prince?" was the first question of Eustace and Puddleglum as soon as they had been waked.
He's gone to meet the king, his father, at Cair Paravel," answered the fawn, whose name was Orange. "His Majesty's ship is expected in harbour any moment. It seems that the king met Aslan, I don't know whether it was vision or face-to-face, before he had sailed far, and Aslan turned him back and told him he would find his long-lost son waiting for him when he reached Narnia."
Eustace was now up, and he and Jill set about helping Orange to get the breakfast. Puddleglum was told to stay in bed. A centaur called Cloudbirth, a famous healer, or, as Orange called it, a leech, was coming to see his burnt foot.
"Ah," said Puddleglum in a tone almost of contentment. "We'll want to have the leg off at the knee, I shouldn't wonder. You see if he doesn't."
But he was quite glad to stay in bed. Breakfast was scrambled eggs and toast, and Eustace tackled it just as if he had not had a very large supper in the middle of the night.
"Oh, I say, son of Adam," said Fawn, looking with a certain awe at Eustace's mouthfuls. "There's no need to hurry quite so dreadfully as that. I don't think the centaurs have quite finished their breakfast yet." They must have got up very late, said Eustace. I bet it's after 10 o'clock.
Oh no, said Orange. They got up before it was light.
Then they must have waited the dickens out of a time for breakfast, said Eustace.
No, they didn't, said Orange. They began eating the minute they awoke.
Golly, said Eustace, do they eat a very big breakfast?
Why, son of Adam, don't you understand? A centaur has a man's stomach and a horse stomach. And of course both want breakfast. So first of all he has porridge and pavenders and kidneys and bacon and omelettes and cold ham and toast and marmalade and coffee and beer. And after that he attends to the horse part of himself by grazing for an hour or so and finishing up with a hot mash, some oats and a bag of sugar. That's why it's such a serious thing to ask a centaur to stay for the weekend. Very serious thing indeed.
At that moment, there was a sound of horse hoofs tapping on rock from the mouth of the cave, and the children looked up. The two centaurs, one with a black and one with a golden beard flowing over their magnificent bare chests, stood waiting for them, bending their heads a little so as to look into the cave. Then the children became very polite and finished their breakfast very quickly. No one thinks a centaur funny when he sees it. They are solemn, majestic people, full of ancient wisdom which they learn from the stars, not easily made either merry or angry. But their anger is terrible as a tidal wave when it comes. Goodbye, dear Puddleglum, said Jill, going over to the Marshwiggle's bed. I'm sorry we called you a wet blanket. So am I, said Eustace. You've been the best friend in the world. And I do hope we'll meet again, added Jill.
Oh, not much chance of that, I should say, replied Puddleglum. I don't reckon I'm very likely to see my old wigwam again either. And that prince, he's a nice chap, but do you think he's very strong? Constitution ruined with living underground, I shouldn't wonder. Looks the sort that might go off any day.
Puddleglum, said Jill, you're a regular old humbug. You sound as doleful as a funeral, and I believe you're perfectly happy. And you talk as if you were afraid of everything, when you're really as brave as a lion.
Oh, now, speaking of funerals, began Puddleglum, but Jill, who heard the centaurs tapping their hoofs behind her, surprised him very much by flinging her arms round his thin neck and kissing his muddy-looking face, while Eustace wrung his hand. Then they both rushed away to the centaurs, and the Marshwiggle, sinking back on his bed, remarked to himself, Well, I wouldn't have dreamt of her doing that, even though I am a good-looking chap.
To ride on a centaur is, no doubt, a great honor. And except Jill and Eustace, there is probably no one alive in the world who has had it. But it is very uncomfortable. Let's see, Troyanko. Welcome in. I'm honored. Thank you for the follow. And hello, good morning to you. I hope you're doing well. Well, afternoon now. Appreciate you being here. Sorry if I didn't acknowledge earlier. We're reading a story and we're nearly at the end. Let's see. For no one who valued his life would suggest putting a saddle on a centaur, and riding bareback is no fun, especially if, like Eustace, you have never learned to ride at all. The centaurs were very polite in a grave, gracious, grown-up kind of way, and as they cantered through the Narnian woods, they spoke without turning their heads, telling the children about the properties of herbs and roots, the influences of the planet, the 9 names of Aslan with their meanings, and things of that sort. But however sore and jolted the two humans were, they would now give anything to have had that journey over again, to see those glades and slopes sparkling with last night's snow, to be met by rabbits and squirrels and birds that wished you good morning, to breathe again the air of Narnia and hear the voices of the Narnian trees. They came down to the river, flowing bright and blue in winter sunshine, far below the last bridge, which is at the snug, red-roofed little town of Baruna, and were ferried across in a flat barge by the ferryman, or rather by the ferry wiggle, for it is the Marshwiggles who do most of the watery and fishing kinds of work in Narnia. And when they had crossed, they rowed along the south bank of the river, and presently came to Cair Paravel itself. And at the very moment of their arrival, they saw that the same bright ship which they had seen when they first set foot in Narnia, gliding up the river like a huge bird.
All the court were once more assembled on the green between the castle and the quay to welcome King Caspian home again. Rillian, who had changed his black clothes and was now dressed in a scarlet cloak over silver mail, stood close to the water's edge, bareheaded to receive his father, and the dwarf Trumpkin sat beside him in his little donkey chair. The children saw there would be no chance of reaching the prince through all that crowd, and anyway, they now felt rather shy. So they asked the centaurs if they might go on sitting on their backs a little longer, and thus see everything over the heads of the courtiers. And the centaurs said they might. A flourish of silver trumpets came over the water from the ship's deck. The sailors threw a rope. Rats, talking rats of course, and marsh wiggles made it fast ashore, and the ship was warped in. Musicians hidden somewhere in the crowd began to play solemn, triumphal music, and soon the king's galleon was alongside, and the rats ran the gangway on board her. Jill expected to see the old king come down it, but there appeared to be some hitch. A lord with a pale face came ashore and knelt to the prince and to Trumpkin. The three were talking with their heads close together for a few minutes, but no one could hear what they said. The music played on, but you could feel that everyone was becoming uneasy. Then 4 knights, carrying something and going very slowly, appeared on the deck. When they started to come down the gangway, you could see what they were carrying. It was the old king on a bed, very pale and still. They set him down, and the prince knelt beside him and embraced him. They could see King Caspian raising his hand to bless his son, and everyone cheered, but it was a half-hearted cheer, and they all felt that something was going wrong. And then suddenly the king's head fell back upon his pillows, and the musicians stopped, and there was a dead silence. The prince, kneeling by the king's bed, laid down his head upon it and wept. There were whisperings and goings to and fro. Then Jill noticed that all who wore hats, bonnets, helmets, or hoods were taking them off, Eustace included. Then she heard a rustling and flapping noise up above the castle, and when she looked she saw that the great banner with the golden lion on it was being brought down to half-mast. And after that, slowly, mercilessly, with wailing strings and disconsolate blowing of horns, the music began again. This time, a tune to break your heart. They both slipped off their centaurs, who took no notice of them. "I wish I was at home," said Jill. Eustace nodded, saying nothing, and bit his lip. "I have come," said a deep voice behind them. They turned and saw the lion himself, so bright and real and strong that everything else began at once to look pale and shadowy compared with him. And in less time than it takes to breathe, Jill forgot about the dead king of Narnia, and remembered only how she had made Eustace fall over the cliff, and how she had helped to muff nearly all the signs, and about all the snappings and quarrelings, and she wanted to say, "I'm sorry," but she could not speak. Then the lion drew them towards him, and his eyes bent down and touched their pale faces with his tongue, and said, "Think of that no more. I will not always be scolding. You have done the work for which I sent you into Narnia." "Please, Aslan," said Jill, "may we go home now?" Yes. I have come to bring you home," said Aslan. Then he opened his mouth and blew. But this time they had no sense of flying through the air. Instead, it seemed that they remained still, and the wild breath of Aslan blew away the ship and the dead king and the castle and the snow and the winter sky, for all these things floated off into the air like wreaths of smoke. And suddenly they were standing in a great brightness of midsummer sunshine, on smooth turf among mighty trees, and beside a fair, fresh stream. Then they saw that they were once more on the mountain of Aslan, high above and beyond the end of that world in which Narnia lies. But the strange thing was that the funeral music for King Caspian still went on, though no one could tell where it came from. They were walking beside the stream, and the lion went before them. And he became so beautiful, and the music so despairing, that Jill did not know which of them it was that filled her eyes with tears. Then Aslan stopped, and the children looked into the stream, and there, on the golden gravel of the bed of the stream, lay King Caspian, dead, with the water flowing over him like liquid glass. His long white beard swayed in it like waterweed, and all three stood and wept. Even the lion wept, great lion tears, each tear more precious than the earth would be if it was a single solid diamond. And Jill noticed that Eustace looked neither like a child crying nor like a boy crying and wanting to hide it, but like a grown-up crying. And at least that is the nearest she could get to it. But really, as she said, people don't seem to have any particular ages on that mountain. "Son of Adam," said Aslan, "go into that thicket and pluck the thorn that you find there and bring it to me." Eustace obeyed. The thorn was a foot long and sharp as a rapier. "Drive it into my paw, son of Adam," said Aslan, holding up his right forepaw and spreading out the great pad toward Eustace. "Must I?" said Eustace. "Yes," said Aslan. Then Eustace set his teeth and drove the thorn into the lion's pad. And there came out a great drop of blood, redder than all redness that you have ever seen or imagined. And it splashed into the stream over the dead body of the king. At the same moment, the doleful music stopped, and the dead king began to be changed. His white beard turned gray, and from gray to yellow, and got shorter, and vanished altogether. And his sunken cheeks grew round and fresh, and the wrinkles were smoothed, and his eyes opened, and his eyes and lips both laughed, and suddenly he leapt up and stood before them, a very young man or a boy, but Jill couldn't say which, because of people having no particular ages in Aslan's country. Even in this world, of course, it is the stupidest children who are the most childish, and the stupidest grown-ups who are the most grown-up. And he rushed to Aslan and flung his arms as far as they would go round the huge neck, and he gave Aslan the strong kisses of a king, and Aslan gave him the wild kisses of a lion. And at last Caspian turned to the others. He gave a great laugh of astonished joy. "Why, Eustace," he said, "Eustace! So you did reach the end of the world after all. What about my second-best sword that you broke on the sea serpent, eh?" Eustace made a step toward him with both hands held out, but then drew back with a startled expression. "Look here, I say," he stammered. "It's all very well, but aren't you, I mean, didn't you—" "Oh, don't be such an ass," said Caspian. "But," Eustace said, looking at Aslan, "hasn't he, died?" "Yes," said the lion in a very... Oh, sorry. "Yes," said the lion in a very quiet voice. No, it was just the wrong tone. Stop, yeah.
You almost copied the audios.
Yeah, that was close.
Close.
"Yes," said the lion in a very quiet voice, almost, Jill thought, as if he were laughing. "He had died. Most people have, you know. Even I have. There are very few who haven't." "Oh," said Caspian, "I see what's bothering you. You think I'm a ghost or some nonsense. But don't you see? I would be that if I appeared in Narnia now, because I don't belong there anymore. But one can't be a ghost in one's own country. I might be a ghost if I got into your world, I don't know, but I suppose it isn't yours either, now that you're here." A great hope rose in the children's hearts, but Aslan shook his shaggy head. "No, my dears," he said. "When you meet me here again, you will have come to stay, but not now. You must go back to your own world for a while." "Sir," said Caspian, "I've always wanted to have just one glimpse of their world. Is that wrong?" "You cannot want wrong things anymore, now that you have died, my son," said Aslan. "And you shall see their world for 5 minutes of their time. It will take no longer for you to set things right there," said Aslan, explaining to Caspian what Jill and Eustace were going back to and all about Experiment House. He seemed to know it quite as well as they did. "Daughter," said Aslan to Jill, "pluck a switch off that bush." She did, and as soon as it was in her hand, it turned into a fine new riding crop.
Now, sons of Adam, draw your swords, said Aslan. But use only the flat, for it is cowards and children, not warriors, against whom I send you. Are you coming with us, Aslan? Said Jill. They shall see only my back, said Aslan. He led them rapidly through the wood, and before they had gone many paces, the wall of Experiment House appeared before them. Then Aslan roared so that the sun shook in the sky, and 30 feet of the wall fell down before them. They looked through the gap down into the school shrubbery and onto the roof of the gym, all under the same dull autumn sky which they had seen before their adventures began. Aslan turned to Jill and Eustace and breathed upon them, and touched their foreheads with his tongue. Then he lay down amid the gap he had made in the wall and turned his golden back to England, and his lordly face towards his own lands. At the same moment, Jill saw figures whom she knew only too well running up through the laurels toward them. Most of the gang were there, Adela Pennyfeather, and Cholmondeley Major, Edith Winterblot, Spotty Sorner, Big Bannister, and the 2 loathsome Garrett twins. But suddenly they stopped. Their faces changed, and all the meanness, conceit, cruelty, and sneakishness almost disappeared in one single expression of terror. For they saw the wall fallen down, and a lion as large as a young elephant lying in the gap, and 3 figures in glittering clothes with weapons, and their hands rushing down upon them. With the strength of Aslan in them, Jill plied her crop on the girls, and Caspian and Eustace plied the flats of their swords on the boys so well that in 2 minutes all the bullies were running like mad, crying out, "Murder! Fascists! Lions! It isn't fair!" And then the head, who was, by the way, a woman, came running out to see what was happening. And when she saw the lion and the broken wall and Caspian and Jill and Eustace, whom she quite failed to recognize, she had hysterics and went back to the house and began ringing up the police with stories about a lion escaped from a circus and escaped convicts who broke down walls and carried drawn swords. In the midst of all this fuss, Jill and Eustace slept quietly indoors and changed out of their bright clothes into ordinary things, and Caspian went back into his own world. And the wall, at Aslan's word, was made whole again. When the police arrived and found no lion, no broken wall, and no convicts, and the head behaving like a lunatic, there was an inquiry into the whole thing. And in the inquiry, all sorts of things about Experiment House came out, and about 10 people got expelled. After that, the head's friends saw that the head was no use as a head, so they got her made an inspector to interfere with other heads, and when they found she wasn't much good even at that, they got her into Parliament, where she lived happily ever after. Eustace buried his fine clothes secretly one night in the school grounds, but Jill smuggled hers home and wore them at a fancy dress ball next holidays. And from that day forth, things changed for the better at Experiment House, and it became quite a good school, and Jill and Eustace were always friends. But far off in Narnia, King Relian buried his father, Caspian the Navigator, 10th of that name, and mourned him. He himself ruled Narnia well, and the land was happy in his days, though Puddleglum, whose foot was as good as new in 3 weeks, often pointed out that bright mornings brought on wet afternoons, and that you couldn't expect good times to last. The opening into the hillside was left open, and often in hot summer days the Narnians go in there with ships and lanterns, and down to the water and sail to and fro, singing on the cool, dark underground sea, telling each other stories of the cities that lie fathoms deep below. If ever you have the luck to go to Narnia yourself, do not forget to have a look at those caves. The end. So there you have it. That is the end of the Silver Chair.
What 10 people got expelled? Who?
Probably the bullies. All right, you two, go to your school. Be gone. Take the chair with you. Take the chair with you. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Thank you so very much.
Bonk.
Yep. But thank you very, very much. I hope you guys have enjoyed the reading of The Silver Chair by C.S. Lewis, part of the Chronicles of Narnia. I enjoyed that one, even though it kind of has a saddish, somber ending. Next week, when we read again, we will read The Last Battle. This is the final book of the Chronicles of Narnia, and I am going to warn you, it is not a happy tale. It's not a happy tale. It's a grim but bittersweet, I guess, ending. But I, hope you're prepared for it. It's a lot of fun. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you enjoyed. We are going to be back tonight. We're going to be playing V Rising with the Giggle Gang. So if you guys are interested in seeing that and hanging out and having some laughs and enjoying some gameplay, you guys are welcome to return and join us. Then tomorrow, about midday, we are going to be playing Repo with Inkazur, Neko Spy, and a bunch of others. So make sure you come hang out for that as well. Should be a lot of fun. It's supposed to be crowd control Repo, so buckle up. Should be a pretty good time. Mutants World, my lord. Welcome to the Heavenly Legion. Honored. By the way, thank you all of you for the follows and the raids. You guys are amazing. I really appreciate the support, and I hope you guys truly enjoy your time here. I'm going to send you all somewhere far more worthy of your time. But first, we have to say goodbye to YouTube. Goodbye, YouTube. Crafty Kitty, thanks for hanging out. Jesus, thank you for the stream. Battle Brother, I have been blessed rest of your day. You as well. I'm glad you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much. I will